Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the inaugural episode of the League One show. It's something that I've been planning on doing for quite some time now, and I've been hoping to start something surrounding Ligue itself. I think it's one of the most under let's say one of the most under covered leagues in the world. I think there's so much coverage surrounding the Premier League, so much coverage surrounding La Liga. There's so much coverage surrounding the Bundesliga and whatnot. And I think Liga kind of gets overlooked. I think it's had a bad rep. It's one of my favorite leagues. I think there's just so much talent here. I think there's so many good games that go on. I think there's just so the talent pool in France is unbelievable, and it's something that I've been thinking about covering for some time. How this would work, I think what I'm thinking is maybe once a week. I kind of go over some games that I watched over the weekend. I'm thinking about 3 to 4 games more in depth, and then kind of having a broad overlook of what has gone on in Liga, what has gone on with the match day, with whatever game week we're at. So that's kind of the plan. That's how I kind of want to go about it. And yeah, I hope everybody enjoys. So we really kicked things off with what was supposed to be a banger. I thought this was going to be very much a banger to kick off the Ligue season. It was Marseille versus Strasbourg. When I was looking over all the league fixtures, when I was looking at who was playing this weekend, this was the game that really stood out to me. This was the game that I was really looking forward to, and it started off really well. I think the first half was really good. I think the first half, both teams were attacking. I think Marseille had the better chances, but I think they were looking a lot better than Strasbourg. I think Amiao showed a lot of flashes on the ball. I think he's a good young player who's got great dribbling technique. But by the second half, as soon as the second half started, it was Marseille that took over. Amori started off with a great goal, and then that red card really killed the game for Strasbourg. I think Strasbourg just didn't have any answer for them, for Marseille after the red card. I'm a little conflicted on the red card itself. The red card was very much something that was very avoidable. I think it was a little bit harsh. I think there were opportunities where we could have, or where they could have, or he could have really avoided that. But in the end, it was a bit harsh. But I wouldn't argue against it. I think that's getting called majority of the time. I think it's getting called by majority of referees, and it's just a stupid play from Strasbourg right there. And then after that, Marseille just took the game over, and it was pretty much game over from there. There was no way Strasbourg was responding. So I think Marseille had a very strong start to the season. I think they started the season off really well. Angel Gomez was standout player for me. I think he was. I know Gori scored 2 goals, and that's huge. They need him kicking if they're gonna challenge for the title. But I think Angel Gomez in that midfield was a very solid player. I think he had that creativity. I think his passing was so accurate. He was finding areas in the pitch, and it was exposing Strasbourg in different ways. So I think Angel Gomez was my player of the match for this game. But again, Guri needs to be kicking at 2 goals, a brace to start the season. I think it's a very strong start for Guri. Højbjerg was also very good. I think Højbjerg was also very good for Marseille in the midfield. I think he really bossed that midfield, and he really started to pick up things after the red card. So he was able to kind of control that game. So I think Marseille have a great chance to really compete for the title. I think they do have a decent squad. They do have a really good squad, and if everyone can stay healthy, they were without Quentin Timber today as well. But if everybody could stay healthy, and maybe they can bring in some more depth in January, there is a decent chance that they could really solidify themselves as maybe a title contender. I think they do have the best, one of the best rosters. One of the best squads when it comes to the starting lineup or the starting 11. I think the starting 11 is very solid. I think when they're all playing on their day, I think they have a very strong squad for a challenge, but they do need some depth. I think they do need depth if they are going to challenge for the title. As for Strasbourg, I think it was a tough day. The red card killed them. I think the red card really killed any momentum that they could deliver. I think Yassine was really good. whereas Yassine's one of those players that I'm really looking out for in this season for Strasbourg. He had a pretty decent World Cup coming off the bench for Morocco. He's a really good player. I think he's got a lot of technical abilities. He's got a great ability to play between spaces and play in tight spaces. He's somebody that Strasbourg could definitely lean on when it comes to that creative output, that creative ability, that spark within their lineup. I think he's somebody that needs to be looked out for, especially in this Ligue season. So he's definitely somebody that I'm looking at. Strasbourg they've had a ton of turnover in their squad. I think they've had an insane amount of turnover in this window. This will open up spots for definitely a lot of players. So I'm looking at, again, Yassine was one of the guys who I was looking at to kind of take those spots. But losing the likes of Imaga and Incensio, Marrero, Barco, these are all big players. These are all really talented players. And I just don't see Strasbourg putting on a great challenge this season. I don't know if they're going to be challenging for those Champions League spots. They do have talent. They still have a lot of talent in this team, but I definitely think that they might be taking a bit of a step back, this year. But again, it was a tough game. It's only game one. It was a tough game for Strasbourg, especially after that red card. There was just nothing going for them, and Marseille took full advantage. And that's what Marseille need to do if they are going to put together a really good season here in Liga. That they need to take advantage when they do get those opportunities. One of the next games that really stood out to me and was on my plate was the Lens game. Lens versus Auxerre. I think I was very, very curious to see how Lens would start this season after having a very successful last season. They had a really great challenge for the title. I think they really overperformed in what a lot of people expected from them. But I think I was very curious to see what would happen in this game. And unfortunately for Auxerre, the red card absolutely destroyed the game. I think the red card killed them. It's hard to kind of judge Lens, especially after that red card. I think they did play. They played really well. I think they took advantage of the situation that was given to them. I think Auxerre, they just had no ability to kind of bounce back from that red card. They did show some resilience. I think they did show some ability to as the game kind of progressed. They really pushed forward, trying to create those chances, trying to fight while they have a man down. But a 5-2 victory for Lens was definitely something that was on the plate, especially after that red card. Huge from Thauvin. Florian Thauvin continues to be their bright spot. He's been in incredible form last year, and he continues to pick up from the form he had last year. But somebody that I do look forward to is Ivanovic. Ivanovic for Lens, he's on loan here. He made his debut, and I really liked him coming off that left side. I think he has an ability to attack defenders. I don't think he's scared to attack defenders, and I think he's going to be somebody that they could very much lean on as the season progresses. As the season progresses and they kind of go through, I think he's somebody that is a really, really top player who can or she showed in this first game, and again, it's only game one, but he showed in this first game that he has that potential to maybe be a real cog in the machine for Lens. Can they repeat what they did last year? I don't know. I think it's only the first game. They lost Sangare, who was a huge piece of the puzzle. He had a really great debut for Brentford over the weekend. But again, they have a couple good defenders. They have Gaino, who scored as well, and they have Sagnan, Sanyan, who was really solid today. I think he was their best defender today. But again, last year was such an incredible season. I'm having trouble believing that they might be able to repeat that. I'm having some trouble believing that is a possibility for them to repeat, especially in my head this season. I think the likes of Marseille, the likes of Monaco, again, obviously Paris Saint-Germain, who are the champions right now, but there are other teams that I think will take that next step. Even a team like Lyon, I think they will take that next step. So it's hard for me to say, especially with some of these, especially with the loss of Sangare in that midfield. I think it's really tough for them to kind of bounce back from that. But I will see again. Well, just game week one, and I'm really curious to see as the season progresses. But it was a big win for Lens over the weekend, and it's a big 3 points for them as the season starts. Another really great game that I actually really enjoyed this weekend was Toulouse versus Lyon. Lyon kicked off their season with a 2-0 victory over Toulouse, and this was a 0-0 game through a majority of the time up until the 70th minute. But I think Toulouse did a really good job in creating chances and building momentum. I think they were very solid throughout the whole game. They arguably should have won this game. The scoreline really does not reflect how well they played. They should have had a couple goals. They should have been. They had the more shots. They had the more touches in the box. I think their expected goals was almost two above Lyon themselves, but they just weren't able to convert. I think Toulouse showed a great ability in this game to really push forward and kind of create those chances. But unfortunately, they just weren't rewarded. They just weren't rewarded. In the end, it was Lyon who were able to kind of convert on those chances, who were able to create to capitalize, and they were clinical enough to take the 3 points. In the end, it was a game that really doesn't reflect the scoreline, but a huge win for Lyon to start their season. I think this is a huge win for them. They need some momentum going. They need an ability to kind of score some goals. They don't have Endrick anymore, who was up front, who was really shooting for them. He was really firing for them near the end of last season. So they need someone to kind of step up, and I think that could be Malik Fofana. Malik Fofana has been injured for he was injury plagued all last season. He's had rumors surrounding him. I don't know, at the time of recording there have been rumors surrounding him going to Roma, but I do believe that there is an ability for Malik Fofana to really showcase his ability, his clinicalness here at Lyon if he does decide to stay. There it could be a partnership between him and Duranville. I think Duranville is somebody that I really think is super talented. I thought he was super talented at Dortmund, and now here at Lyon, I'm hoping that he can kind of showcase that ability as well. But I think Malik Fofana can really be. He scored off the bench. He came off the bench and he had a wonderful goal, and then he was a real impact. So I'm hoping that he can stay healthy and he can really be that driving piece for Lyon this season. But Lyon, they were just a more clinical team. I think they were very solid in being able to kind of convert on those chances, and it's just unlucky for Toulouse. I think Toulouse they created opportunities. They were able to pick up that momentum. But as soon as that first goal went in from Narty, and I think Narty had a really good goal, and he could also be a very big piece, the Danish midfielder. I think he can be a really big piece to this team. But as soon as that goal went, I think Toulouse, their whole momentum just died, and I think that really took a sting out of them. I think they were really dejected after that goal went in. But in the end, it was Lyon who were clinical enough to take the 3 points. So it's a big 3 points to start the season for Lyon. They're obviously going to have expectations, and as of recording, they are going to be playing that Champions League game against Fenerbahce to see if they are able to qualify for Champions League. But that's where they want to be. They want to be around the area for qualifying. I think they are missing a couple more pieces that would kind of propel them over there to compete for that Champions League spot. But in the end, they'll take the 3 points here, and I think it's a very unlucky for Toulouse. And I'm very curious to see how they're going to respond next week, and if they are able to kind of carry some of that momentum that they played into in this game. Now, the game that most people, I'm assuming, were looking forward to heading into this weekend. This was the game that I'm assuming a lot of people had marked on their calendar, and that was the defending champs Paris Saint-Germain against Rennes. I think this was the game that a lot of people were very curious about, and it did not disappoint. This game did not disappoint one bit. It was a fantastic game between Rennes and PSG. And just so for people that don't know, Rennes are also a really good team when it comes to playing against PSG. I believe there was a stat that they've beaten them about 8 times since 2011 and 2012 season. So this is not a walk in the park for PSG. This is not a team that just lets them that PSG is able to just kind of take an easy 3 points off of. They are very much a team that fights hard, and they showed it today. I thought they were fantastic defensively. That first half from Rennes was fantastic. They were so solid defensively. They were holding their line. Their interceptions were really good. I think they were able to really cause some issues to PSG, especially in that first half. PSG had the ball a lot. and that was expected. They were going to have the ball a lot. They had more. I believe they had about 70% possession this game. But this draw, it was a 2-2 draw. But in the end, I think Rennes should hold their heads up high because they were fantastic this game, and it was because of the defensive output that they put, or the defensive showcase that they really showed today. It was a great overall game from them, and then the counter attacking. I think they were so good on the counter. They were so clinical. Szymanski had a fantastic goal from outside the box, and Lapaul, who's become one of the best strikers in the league, and hoping that he can maybe carry over that momentum from last year. But it was a fantastic game all around for Rennes. But unfortunately, in the end, it was PSG who were able to kind of break that deadlock. They were able to kind of break through, and it was Fernan Torres, the new signing Fernan Torres from Barcelona. He was able to score 2 goals to tie this game and take away the 3 points from Rennes. And in the end, I think you can only hold off PSG for that long, especially when you're holding off that much momentum and that much possession. You're giving up that much possession. You can only hold the line for that long until a team of that much talent of PSG are able to kind of break through and create some chances. But I think Rennes should hold their head up high. I think they had a really good debut to the season. I think they've shown a lot of tenacity. I think Lapaul, we're hoping, or Rennes is very much hoping that he can continue to have another great season. He was fantastic last season. I think he's one of the more underrated strikers in world football today, and he kicks off his season with another goal to start. So he continues his goal scoring spree. I thought Thompson was really good as well. I think Szymanski's goal was fantastic, and they had a really good game. I think the Rennes had a really good game. And as for PSG, I don't think there's much to worry about for PSG. I thought they had a really solid. They were holding the ball a lot. They were trying to create chances, and I think Luis Enrique did something fantastic. They were able to take out Kvara and Dembele at the same time, and they brought in Fernan Torres and their new signing Mika Götze, and that was the change that they needed. They were able to kind of make those changes at halftime, and in the end, that ended up working very well for them. I do want to mention something that's really stuck with me, and that was something related to Luis Enrique and PSG. I think there's something about this team where Luis Enrique is able to make changes during the game and not have to worry about the backlash or something that may come up later on. And a lot of it's coming from me thinking about Real Madrid and the issues that maybe Real Madrid are having when it comes to the likes of Mbappe, Vinny, Jude, and these big names that are able to kind of stray away from, not from criticism, but the ability for the coach to make those changes. And there's something about watching Kvara, watching Dembele, watching Vitinha get subbed out middle of the game when they're down, or when they're losing, when they're not having good games, and bringing in other talent, bringing in a Fernan Torres, bringing in Götze, bringing in Fabian Ruiz, bringing in these players, and not hearing a peep about it, about these issues being created in the media and whatnot. There's something to be said about that, because I think that is the reason why that PSG are going for that three-peat. Because when those players are not playing well, Luis Enrique has not hesitated one bit to take them out of the game and switch up not the formation, but switch up the tactics, switch up the lineup, and understand that there may be something else that needs to be injected into that game. He has not strayed away, and he's not shied away from being able to make those changes. And I think that is such a huge part of what makes PSG so great. So seeing that today, seeing that Fernan Torres being brought on at halftime, taking out the likes of Kvara, taking out the likes of Dembele at halftime, and being able to put on somebody like Fernan Torres, and not having to care about what maybe is to come. And that's huge. That is a huge advantage as a coach, and that says a lot about the team that is in front of him, in terms of the egos that are there, and in terms of how they're able to respond to the coaching that's provided. So I think that's a huge plus for PSG, and it's the reason what makes them so great. It's the reason that's one of the reasons that makes them one of the best teams in Europe, and or ever to play, because they're hitting a three-peat, and if they are able to three-peat, we might have to talk about PSG as one of the greatest teams to ever play in world football. So a huge shout out to Enrique there. And PSG starts off their season with a draw, but I think in the end, I think it was a really great game for both teams. I think PSG were a little slow; they weren't able to kind of break through, and Rennes played a fantastic game on the counter attack. So a 2-2 draw. It's not the end of the world. It's only game one, and a lot of players are, especially on PSG side, are coming back from the World Cup, and not. But that was a really good game. It ended up being one of the better games, and maybe the best game of this weekend. But looking around in the league as well, I think we had some great results to kick off. Monaco obviously were able to 1-0 victory, and they were able to pick up 3 points. Lyon was off to a great start with a 2-0 victory as well to pick up those 3 points. And Nice were unable to pick up a victory, and Laurent were able to pick up that draw. So there were great results all across the league. Unfortunately, I just wasn't able to catch them. But that's kind of what's happening around the league right now. Marseille do sit on top. They do sit on top with 3 points with that 4-goal difference. Lens are right behind them with 3 points. Lyon, Monaco all have 3 points and are sitting up there on top. Again, Brest, PSG, Le Mans, Rennes, these guys are all drew. And then we have obviously Strasbourg at the bottom with the most goal difference. But the league table is looking it's only game week 1, so we'll see how everything turns out. But this was the inaugural episode of the Ligue show, something that I want to do every week, and something that I want to kind of improve on, and just see just kind of explore how Ligue kind of progresses throughout the season. But yeah, if you really enjoyed that, if you want to see a little bit more, feel free to comment below. Feel free to give it a like and subscribe if you can.